Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. UEFA Nations League is back and we get it kicked off with Portugal against Poland. How did Portugal defeat Poland without Cristiano Ronaldo? This is the post-Cristiano Ronaldo era. Where did Poland go wrong? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down how Portugal beat Poland. So before we get to today's video, don't forget to give our video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Don't forget to click the bell below for our daily notifications regarding our organic, unfiltered soccer/footy analysis. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. In today's video, we're going to break down the first half and see where Poland went wrong and why Portugal were able to take control of the game towards the end of the half. And then we're going to get to the second half and basically break down how Poland were trying to fight back and how Portugal were able to cope. But first, let's get to the starting lineups. We have Poland more of a 4-4-2, 4-3-1-2, however you want to go about it. It's Piatek and Lewandowski up front, slightly ahead of Zielinski, who did push forward when he had to, and just in behind them, Kurzawa, Krychowiak, and Klitsch. And then we go to Portugal, 4-3-3, no Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafa, Andre Silva, and Bernardo Silva up front. In midfield, they want Pizzi, William Carvalho, and they went with Ruben Neves. So let's get to the first half and see where Poland struggled and how Portugal were able to take the lead going into halftime. So when we get into Poland against Portugal, what we do have here is Poland dropping off into what should be a 4-4-2. But one of the key things that they did want to do was to ensure that Portugal couldn't play out the back and ensure that Ruben Neves couldn't dictate the tempo of the game. And we saw that early on. We saw the center backs kind of split out into their positions. We saw Piatek and Lewandowski push out. We saw Lewandowski push out to Ruben Diaz. We saw Piatek push out to Pep. And what happens here is that Neves often wants to drop into that space. We saw in the earlier stages, if it wasn't from that space, he had already shifted the ball twice out into wider areas. One time he shifted out to Cancelo, and Cancelo was free to run forward past Kurzawa. Then the left back pushes out and he beats him, but his cross into the box fell to Fabianski. The other time we saw from an interception from Neves, a pass into Lewandowski, we saw Neves get the ball, slide it out wide to Rafa Silva, and he waited for the overlap of Mario Rui. We didn't see much of Mario Rui overlapping throughout the first half, but that was pivotal. What they wanted to do was to stop that, so when Neves dropped deep, they had Zielinski sit onto him. Now what that does leave is that it leaves the two midfielders pushing forward, and what happens is that now Klitsch and Krychowiak could step to them, and then what you really have left is Kurzawa pushing out to the left, and if they wanted to push out Berezinski to Mario Rui, they could, because then they still have 3v3 at the back, but they often left that open and Mario Rui was never really picked out when they did press that way. Portugal tried to overcome it on two occasions. We saw Neves try to play a pass into Cancelo, and what happened is that Kurzawa intercepted the first one. It didn't lead to anything, but the second time he did look to play that pass, Cancelo kind of waited for the ball. Kurzawa was able to step in, and what happened there was that we saw the ball instantly played behind the defense, the center backs, but Piatek was ruled offside, and when we look at it, that is where Poland were really trying to get them. They were trying to ensure that they couldn't play out of the back. Neves couldn't control the tempo of the game because Portugal, for the most part, were able to control the ball. They were reliable, they retained possession, but they weren't really creating many chances. When Poland tried to build out of the back, what happened here was that Portugal were very comfortable in the sense that they dropped off into more of a 4-1-4-1, and they pushed out the fullbacks. They had Neves sit off a bit deeper, and what happened here was that they, like Poland did, they were able to press the midfield. They had the wide players shifting out to the center, to the wide players if they needed to, in the Polish fullbacks. The left back never really pushed forward. Berezinski was often the one looking to push higher up the pitch, but they were comfortable in that sense, and Poland couldn't get the ball into their forwards. They couldn't get the ball into them. They weren't able to circulate the ball past the Portuguese midfield. The midfield bank was very tight and organized in that sense, and they were able to really protect the wide fullback, so that was pivotal. So when we get to the final 15 minutes of the first half, that is where Portugal kind of ran away with the game and came from behind, because Poland did take the lead from a corner kick that did see Piatek rise over Cancelo and nod the ball into the net. But now we're going to get to Portugal and see what they did right, because a lot of the game was scrappy. Portugal did, like I said, had control of the tempo, had control of possession, but weren't really creating chances. But it all stemmed in the final 15 minutes of the first half, and now let's get to that. So when we get to the final 15 minutes of the first half, that's where Portugal really took control of the game. This is where we saw the three main aspects that they really strived and come to fruition. One, Ruben Neves getting more time on the ball as Zielinski often dropped off deeper as the game wore on, and Klitsch kind of moved out to more of a narrow right side. We look at Cancelo constantly bombing forward, and they had no answer for him down Poland's left-hand side, and the fact that Bereszynski was exposed for mental and defensive lapses throughout those final 15 minutes. We look at the opening, one of the first chances, which did lead up to the goal. It's Diaz pushing forward, and what happens here is that he's able to slide the ball to Bernardo. Bernardo ends up running at Krychowiak, who ends up pulling out to the left-hand side, and we had Kurzawa and Klitsch more central. So he pulls out to that side. What happens now is that Cancelo's eventually bombing forward. When Bernardo has a ball more narrow, Cancelo is given the license to roam down the touchline and vice versa. And he plays the ball out to Cancelo. But we also see here is PZ ends up making a dart in behind the two center backs into that space right here, into the edge of the box. So the ball is played out there. We eventually see Kurzawa shift over, and when the ball is played there, we end up see PZ continuous run onside, kind of checks back into that space, and then gets the ball poked back to him by Cancelo in right half space. When he picks up the ball there, what happens is that we see a defender push out, but what happens is Andre Silva makes the run across Bereszynski in behind the two center backs, and he's able to tap his effort into the net. But once again, we see Cancelo push forward. We see Andre Silva expose Bereszynski and the two center backs for not really being aware of their surroundings, and that's where Portugal were able to get their equalizer. Then we go to another opportunity, and it stems from Andre Silva breaking on the counterattack from a Patricio throw from a corner kick. He's able to get the ball, drive forward, push all the way towards the Polish box, and Andre Silva pushes into that space, and he sees Rafa making the run across Bereszynski, makes the run across Bereszynski, gets the ball, but what happens there is he fires a tame effort at Fabianski, but again, a warning sign for them. We shift over to the right-hand side. Again, it's more from Cancelo. This time it's PZ playing the ball out to him, and what happens here is that the left back steps forward as Kurzawa is a bit deeper. What happens now is that he's able to push the ball across from him, and then Kurzawa steps, but you have Bernardo darting into that space there. Ball's poked in. He continues his run. The left back follows him, and he's able to make the run in behind. What happens there is Bernardo again pokes it back to Cancelo, but Cancelo's cross into the box is cleared for a corner kick. Then we get to how Portugal go ahead. It's simple, it's easy. After about 2 minutes of patient possession, pushing the ball around, trying to find the opener, what happens here is that the ball ends up getting played back to Ruben Neves, and this is where Zielinski matters because he drops off. They're into more of a narrow 4-4-2, and what is it? It's just a simple run from Rafa right in between Bereszynski and the center back. Long ball, superb ball from Ruben Neves, played in. He controls it. Glick ends up making a tackle, and his tackle ends up directing the ball into the net. But again, Neves' ability to play that ball over the top, Rafa's ability to run across Bereszynski, and that happened on numerous occasions. And then we look back to Cancelo constantly getting forward and pushing Portugal into attacking positions and applying the pressure on Poland, and that was how Portugal really got back into the game and dominated those final 15 minutes of the first half. And now we have to get to the second half to see how Poland will be able to fight back. So when we get into the second half, a lot of it was based on the fact that Portugal were very good without the ball. They dropped off into their base shape 4-1-4-1. They ensured that the wider players in Rafa Silva and Bernardo Silva were able to sweep up that space. When they dropped off as well, they were very tight and compact, so they couldn't get balls into that space in between the midfield. Often Zielinski had to drop off a bit deeper to get onto the ball. We often see Lewandowski try to drop off to get onto the ball as well, but Ruben Neves tracked his movement to ensure that he couldn't get on the ball and create from deeper. And as a whole, Portugal were in full control of the game. They were closing down space as well. They were ensuring that Poland couldn't play through the middle. Poland oddly didn't try to play over the top, try to get Lewandowski involved in that sense. They were trying to play through Portugal's midfield, and that never really worked out. And eventually they ended up going ahead, and it stems from a ball played into Andre Silva, who had a very good game, dropping deeper, combining with William. William slid it to Bernardo Silva, and Bernardo Silva now is able to cut in based on the fact that Pizzi makes that overlapping run and darts into that space. Now he is able to cut in on Krykowiak, who never really offered much of a defensive threat to him based on the fact that he was dribbling at such a good speed, and he was able to cut in on Kurzawa, and he fires a shot on goal that probably should have been saved, but it put Portugal up 3-1, and Poland had no answers to that. Like I said, that base shape, nothing really breaking through it. You think about their chances. Zielinski's free kick that eventually was nodded by Bednarek, inches wide of the net. You think about the goal as well. It's good closing down, just a mistake from Mario Rui and a clearance that Pep should make. Ball is shifted out, and through that, actually, we should get to the point that they brought on Grozicki, they brought on Kuba, and they ended up moving to more of a 4-1-4-1. And with that being said, Kuba and Grozicki were out wide. Lewandowski dropped off a bit deeper, but again, it never really changed anything. You get to the goal, ball is shifted out wide. Rafa does a good job in closing down, but it's Mario Rui who gambles, and Grozicki is able to turn him, and then Mario Rui gives up as the ball. Does it go out? Does it not? Doesn't matter. You don't give up. You continue with the play. Grozicki is able to drive forward. The cross into the box. Pep should do a bit better as he and Lewandowski challenge it. And then it falls to Kuba. And you could also say that Cancelo probably should do a better job in closing down rather than moving away from the ball. He fires a superb effort past Rui Patricio. Nothing you could really ask from him. 3-2, but then again, nothing else really changes. They bring on Renato Sanchez. We see one more play towards the end of the game before it was really killed off, and they brought on Danilo to really ice it. What happens here is that, again, it's Cancelo finding Andre Silva. He's able to drop off into space between the lines, turn, run towards goal. We see Renato Sanchez from deeper, running past from beyond half, running past Zielinski, running past Krykowiak to get the ball, slides it into him. He's able to round the keeper, but then again, it's blocked. It's blocked on the goal line, and Portugal are unable to double their lead. But again, when we break this game down as a whole, in the first half, Andre Silva was very good. We have to give him credit. But it's Cancelo who did a great job. Ruben Neves, once Zielinski wasn't pressuring him anymore. And just the fact that Portugal without the ball were very good. They were able to come back into the game and expose Bereszynski's inability to really mark his position, and runners were getting by him. And in the second half, they dropped off 4-1-4-1. Poland couldn't find any lines. They were able to score a fortuitous goal down to Mario Rui's mistake, but as a whole, they look like the best team in the group, and they are fully deserving of going on to the next round of the UEFA Nations League. But let me know what you guys think. What's wrong with Poland? Why can't they get any service to Lewandowski? And is there a system change that they need to make? And what about Portugal? They look to be the real deal, but what happens to them when Cristiano Ronaldo returns? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.